It all started on a quiet afternoon, a day I'll never forget. I'm Chief Darius Cole, but I wasn't always this famous. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I worked my way up through the ranks, all the way to becoming the chief of police for the entire Atlanta metro area. But when I wasn't in uniform, I was just another regular guy, living in a suburban neighborhood with my family, enjoying a peaceful life. And then came the new HOA president, Karen. She was the type of person who had an opinion about everything, and every opinion she had was the right one. She didn't just run the HOA, she ruled it with an iron fist, handing out fines for the smallest infractions and enforcing ridiculous rules that made everyone's lives miserable. Most of us kept quiet, afraid of the consequences of crossing her. But I never thought it would come to this. I never thought she would mess with me. You see, I had just made a big purchase. After years of hard work, I finally bought my dream car, a matte black 1969 Chevrolet Camaro SS, fully restored. The engine purred like a lion, and the interior was nothing short of perfection. It was a collector's piece, worth over $60,000, and I was beyond proud of it. I spent hours polishing it, making sure it looked flawless. I parked it proudly in my driveway and even took a few photos to share with my friends. It was the culmination of my hard work and dedication, and it made me feel like a king for a day. But Karen had other plans. The very next morning, just after I had parked the car and closed the garage door, she stormed over to my driveway, clipboard in hand. I looked up to see her glaring at me, her hands on her hips, as if she owned the entire neighborhood. "You can't park that here," she said with a sneer. I stood up, confused. "Excuse me?" She didn't even hesitate. "That car is an eyesore. It doesn't fit the aesthetic of this neighborhood. I've had complaints from other residents. You either move it into a garage or get rid of it entirely. We don't allow that kind of vehicle here." My jaw dropped. "It's a classic car. It's in perfect condition. There's no rule about classic cars in the HOA guidelines." She waved her hand dismissively. "I'm the HOA president. I decide what's allowed. I'm giving you 24 hours to move it or face a fine." I tried to reason with her. "Karen, this is my property. You don't get to tell me what I can and can't park in my own driveway." But it was no use. She was relentless, and I could see that she wasn't backing down. I didn't argue further. I just nodded and went inside, hoping that this wouldn't escalate into something bigger. What happened next was something I never could have predicted. The following day, I woke up to find my beloved Camaro was gone. I stood in my driveway staring at the empty space where the car had been parked just the night before. My heart sank. I rushed to check the security cameras. Nothing. The footage was mysteriously corrupted. I immediately called the towing company, but they had no record of the car being towed. It was as if it had simply vanished. Panic set in. I filed a report with the police, but something told me this wasn't an ordinary theft. As the chief of police, I knew how to navigate the system. I quietly started investigating the situation myself, pulling the right strings to get answers faster than the average person. Hours later, one of my detectives called me. "Chief, you're not going to like this. We found your car, or what's left of it." I felt my stomach drop. The car wasn't just moved, it had been destroyed. It had been dragged away by an unlicensed contractor hired by Karen herself. The Camaro's body was covered in spray paint. The rims were stolen, and the windows were shattered. The interior had been slashed. It was unrecognizable. I stood there in disbelief. This was my dream car, reduced to nothing but a pile of metal and broken glass. The damage amounted to over $30,000. At that moment, something inside me snapped. I wasn't just angry, I was furious. But I couldn't act out of emotion. I had to play this smart. I called a meeting with the HOA board, scheduling an emergency session to address the situation. I knew this was going to be bigger than just a petty dispute over a car. It was personal now. When Karen arrived at the meeting, she acted like nothing had happened. She was smiling, flipping through her binder like she was about to discuss garden aesthetics, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit her. "If this is about the Camaro, I've already documented everything," Karen said, her tone cold and confident. "It was an eyesore, a violation of HOA rules. I had it towed because it was in violation of the community guidelines." I stood up slowly, placing my badge and ID on the table in front of her. Karen, my name is Darius Cole. I'm the chief of police. That car you had destroyed was mine. The entire room went silent. Karen's face turned pale. She looked at the badge, then back at me, unable to speak. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for some way out of the mess she had created. You destroyed my property. You didn't follow the rules. You didn't have the authority to remove my car, and you certainly didn't have the right to damage it, I continued, my voice steady but firm. I'm filing criminal charges for destruction of property, unauthorized towing, and filing false reports. You've overstepped your boundaries, Karen. She stammered, trying to backpedal. I thought it was just a regular car. I didn't know it was yours. I was just doing my job, trying to keep the neighborhood nice. But I wasn't having it. No, Karen, you weren't doing your job. You were abusing your power, and now you'll pay for it. I filed criminal charges the very next day. The HOA was forced to reimburse me for the full value of the car, and the contractor who had damaged it was fined and stripped of their license. But the real blow came when Karen was removed from her position as HOA president. The board voted unanimously to strip her of her authority, and her name became synonymous with overreach and abuse of power. I could have taken it further, could have pressed even more charges, but I didn't want to drag it out. The message had been sent. Karen was no longer in control, and the community saw who she truly was.